expand human achievement. I don't understand how a country like ours wants to treat everything with prison and jail. Because if you want to see how we treat you want to see the true character of a country, go to their prisons. In Turkey, they are now imprisoning journalists. We may call them in the back the enemy of the people, but they're not. We don't incarcerate them. In Russia, who do they incarcerate? The political opposition. We may have dictator-like people yelling, lock her up, but that's not what we do. But if you go to our jails and prisons, you see the biggest mental health care treatment centers in the country, and they're not getting treatment. You see mentally ill people, you see drug-addicted people. You see women who are survivors of sexual assault. Almost 90% of women we incarcerate are survivors of sexual assault. Because by the way, everybody, they've done data. If you are a survivor of a sexual assault, if you are sexually assaulted, it has hundreds of thousands of dollars of cost to your life. Your chances of suicide and mental illness go up. You're more likely to lose your job. And what do we do to those women? We incarcerate them at outrageous rates. And then we incarcerate the poor and the black and brown. And so, sir, I'm here to tell you, he and I have no choice. The pressure on his budgets, these are the kind of people that should run for president. Don't run for president, man. I got enough competition already. But mayors who have to force to do so much with so little, they create efficiencies. I cut the size of my government 25% in a recession. Think about that for a second. Nobody else in the Senate probably cut government as much as I did. We have governors there and county executives. I had to cut my government, learn how to do more with less. But I still found ways to expand my economy. I still found ways to attract jobs. I already told you I doubled the production of affordable housing. I had the biggest parks expansion in my city in a century. And so elect me president, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Yeah, I'm going to raise some taxes, but I'm going to raise them smart. I thought the corporate tax was too high. It shouldn't have come down to 21. I'm going to probably push it up to 25. But you know what? There were a whole bunch of big corporations that weren't paying full freight anyway. They had tax breaks, loopholes, their effective tax rate. You heard these. Some of these folks are not paying any taxes. And you know who was paying taxes? My talented 10th sister over here? Small business people. Well, if I'm president of the United States, we're going to end that. We're going to give more tax breaks to the people who are actually creating the lion's share of jobs in our country, who are small and mid-sized businesses. And we're going to make sure that the corporations, why should oil companies get all the tax loopholes that they get right now? Sir, the individual top marginal tax rate should go back up to those wild days of the Obama era. It would produce hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars more in income that we can put to something else. I think 70% is too high. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I think it wouldn't get through, and it would not get through. Okay, time for one more question. If I do too quickly? No? One question. Okay, listen, I want you to know, for you guys who know Clay, veteran, if he had said, Cory, one, I would have said, I'm going to do two. But Crystal, don't play that. So I'm going to try to get maybe one of the young people you're raising your hand, but the woman behind you, she's like doing dancing and circles and everything like that. So why don't you go ahead?
Okay, I was trying to get your attention because I was moving from place to place.
Okay.
Okay.
So you were getting an aerobic workout as you were trying to get a question
Absolutely.
in.
I'm also part of Fluffy Girl Fitness, Benedict College, 7 to 8.
Can you say that again for me? Fluffy
Girl Fitness, yes,
okay.
sir. Okay.
I'm FGF.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, my name is Faith Dupree. I am a junior psychology major at Benedict College, located right down the street. My question, yes, sir, BC, you know. So my question is that the president-elect that we have now, he has rendered that HBCUs are unconstitutional. My question to you is that what will you do to preserve HBCUs that we have now, and how will we combat the ever so declining rate of HBCUs now? Whereas questions that we have with Bennett College, who has put in funding over millions of dollars to get their accreditation back and still rendered, they have lost their accreditation. So for me, in my institution, Benedict College, we have dedicated so much to the civil rights movement, and so that this city as a whole, but yet we are still looked down upon. how will you, as a president, make sure that our HBCUs get the recognition? Recognition. I'm sorry, I'm a
Yes.
little excited, and the funding that we need.
So I want you to know that this is not something I'm waiting to be president of the United States. I'm a child of 2 HBCU graduates. I would not be here if it wasn't for HBCUs. I know the value of HBCUs in America because as we talk about diversity and inclusion, we have a problem that we're not producing enough. And right now, HBCUs are producing the majority of black teachers, the majority of black engineers, the majority of black generals, the majority of black engineers. They are one of the most powerful pipelines for diversity in this country, and we need to be reviving, supporting, funding HBCUs appropriately to their contribution they're making. I've done things already. Everything from supporting HBCUs in their physical plant repairs to defending streams of income for HBCUs, and even the opportunity zone legislation I wrote that is now the law of the land. About 50% of HBCUs fall into opportunity zones, and there's been a fund that has been started because of my legislation solely to support HBCUs. I want to pivot to use your question to end now to wrap up before Crystal gets really mad at me. And I want to let you all know I'm coming back to South Carolina a lot. This was a very important forum, but there's a lot of issues we didn't discuss, from gun violence in our communities. They had almost sang that. They almost sang that. From gun violence to something that I'm going to push to make sure we get universal background checks, all the way to climate change. We didn't appropriately talk about the planet being in peril and needing a president that's going to rejoin the Paris Climate Accords, a president that's going to redo our infrastructure to make it a green infrastructure, a president that's going to make sure that we're investing in the green tech of the future. We got to cover that issue more. There's an issue that I'm really good at this, which is affordable housing, which is something that is a passion of mine. I have a major piece of legislation in right now to talk about doing the kind of things that fund affordable housing, that get rid of these restrictive covenants. She wants to know my address when I live in Newark. I am the only person in this race, the only senator in America that lives in a low-income, inner-city, black and brown neighborhood. And my median income where I live, according to the last census, is about $14,000 per household. I've dedicated my life to being in a community, working together, struggling to make things happen. And that has been an issue. In fact, my mayor's holding a conference, I think, next week, Mayor Ras Baraka, on gentrification, because we are doing some things in Newark that I'm really proud of. But can I end with just this challenge to you all? Because when I was campaigning in 1998 for the Central Ward of Newark, I used to tell people that if you vote for me, I'm going to put a warning on my campaign, that if you vote for me, I'm going to ask for more from you. And I want to tell you, as President of the United States, I'm going to ask for more from people too. I'm not going to ask you to put up with more, suffer through more, deal with more outrageous corruption or injustice, or a president that does Twitter trolling and temper tantrums and trash talking. I'm not going to ask you to put up with things that make you feel almost angry as an American, separating families at borders. But I am going to ask us to, again, revive that sense of a beloved community, for people to get involved, for people to volunteer more. I am so excited that I'm seeing in this election in 2018 so many more people getting involved, that got involved before. And so I want you all to know that I'm going to ask you to be the antidote to despair. What is the antidote to despair? I define hope as the active conviction that despair will not have the last word. And so this is what I want to end with, which is just a thought for you. There's one of my favorite places in America is this place where there is a plaque at a place where something really tragic happened. It's where Martin Luther King was shot. It's at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. And if you go there right now, right at the spot where Martin Luther King was killed, there is a block here with some words of scripture. Now understand this, I'm one of these people that says, before you tell me about your religion, first show it to me in how you treat other people. Okay? I pastor, I think that faith without works is dead. And I think there's a lot of people that preach right but do wrong. And I'm one of those folks, Pastor, I hope I don't get in trouble with you, but I'd rather hang out with a nice atheist than a mean Christian any day of the week. All right? All right. So forgive me, though, I do want to quote this scripture because it is actually at the site that Martin Luther King was killed, and it is a calling to future generations. And what's written there from the Torah, from the Quran, and from the Bible in Genesis is the words of Joseph's brothers when they saw him with his coat of many colors and his interpretations of dreams. They grabbed him and they threw him to die in a well, which is that saying from faith traditions that sometimes you have to go to the pit before you go to the palace. Well, a lot of Americans feel like we're in the pit right now. They feel isolated and alone. They feel hurting. They're struggling to take care of a special needs child. They're struggling to afford health care. They're struggling 2 jobs just to make ends meet. A lot of folks feel in that pit right now. And the question is will we rise? And so on that site that Martin Luther King was killed, they actually used the words that Joseph's brothers uttered before they threw their brother to death. And this is what it says where King was killed. It says, "Behold, here cometh the dreamer. Let us slay him and see what becomes of his dream." It is a challenge to our generation. What will become of the dream of our ancestors? The dream of slaves and Quakers who, even though they were seeing slavery, never stopped dreaming of freedom. It is the dream of poor folk living in slums who dreamed of universal public education and workers' rights. It's the dream of America. What will become of our dream? That everyone is treated equal under the law. What will become of our dream? We have to decide now, and I say this boldly and unapologetically, it is time for our generation to dream again. It is time for us to dream defiant dreams and bold dreams and daring dreams and humble dreams that everyone can have health care, that everyone can have great public education, that everyone can work a job with dignity. It's time that we dream again. We are the caretakers of the dream, and I promise you this. If we love one another, if we reach out, if we create more unity, if we pull people together to dream together and work together and stand together, if we do that, then our tomorrows will be better than our yesterdays. If we do that, the words from Scripture will happen, that justice will roll down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. If we do that, then I believe we will rise up out of that pit, that this nation will go unto the mountaintop, and we will be what we are called to be in America, not followers in the world, not falling behind the rest of the world, but we are called through our humanity and our love to be a light unto all nations. Thank you.
All right, everyone, quickly, we're going to do a couple photo lines, one on this side, one on this side. If you please get a line so that we can get some, you guys can get your pictures. You have questions. Over here. And on there. So y'all just wait a minute. Where's that? You want to? Can I get my volunteers to come help us manage the photo line? One here. One over here. Thank you.
Getting by the flag or not?
Oh, no,
Wouldn't that be
this is
nice?
fine. I mean, it would be, but we want folks to get a picture with them, right?
Okay.
Thank you.